when a little girl pointed at a chained German shepherd and whispered, "Daddy, can I buy that dog?" Her father, a police officer, froze. Something about the dog's eyes, something in its presence, stopped him cold. What he discovered next would change both their lives forever. Shops were closing, lights flickering on one by one, and families strolled lazily along the sidewalks. But near the corner lamppost, something unusual caught the attention of a little girl in a bright red dress. There, chained to the pole, sat a German shepherd with drooping ears and tired, watchful eyes. A torn cardboard sign leaned against him. $1 for the beast. His broad chest rose and fell slowly, yet his gaze carried a sadness deeper than words. The girl tugged at her father's hand. "Daddy, can I buy that dog?" she whispered, her voice filled with innocence and hope. The officer froze. His trained eyes studied the animal carefully, but something unsettled him. This wasn't just a stray dog. Something in its eyes made his heart hesitate. Whispers floated through the street as passers-by noticed the chained dog. Some shook their heads, muttering under their breath. Others quickened their steps, pulling their children close. To them, he wasn't a dog. He was the beast. Stories had spread like wildfire in the small town. They said the dog had attacked his owner. Others claimed he had mauled another animal. Some insisted he was cursed, a creature too dangerous to be kept alive. Every rumor twisted his image further, until all anyone saw was a monster. But up close, the truth was harder to ignore. His ribs pressed faintly against his skin, showing hunger no one had cared to ease. A faint scar ran along his muzzle, another across his flank. Marks of battles fought not by choice, but by survival. His eyes, though hardened, shimmered with something unexpected. Pain, not rage. The cardboard sign screamed beast, but his trembling paws and lowered head told another story. Once, he had likely known loyalty. Once, perhaps, he had belonged. Now, he was a prisoner of chains and fear, abandoned on a street corner for a single dollar. And yet, the little girl did not flinch. She only saw his broken heart. The little girl's wide eyes never left the dog. Where others saw danger, she saw loneliness. Where others stepped back, she stepped forward, her small hand tightening around her father's. "Daddy," she whispered again, her voice trembling with compassion. "He's not scary. He's sad." Her father glanced down, his jaw set, unsure how to explain. As a police officer, he had been trained to read threats, to see danger before anyone else. But his daughter's innocence pierced through the weight of his caution. The German shepherd lifted his head, meeting the girl's gaze. For a fleeting second, his eyes softened, as if recognizing a kindred spirit. The little girl smiled, tilting her head, unafraid. "I want to help him," she said firmly, with the kind of certainty only a child could carry. And in that moment, the label beast seemed to crumble under her gentle voice. The officer's gaze lingered on the dog, but his mind drifted elsewhere, back to a memory he rarely allowed himself to revisit. Years ago, he too had walked beside a German shepherd, but not on a quiet street. His partner then was Rex, a loyal K9 who had been more than just a dog. He was a brother in uniform, a guardian in the dark. Rex had saved his life more than once, sensing danger before any human could. Their bond had been unshakable, but one night, during a raid, everything changed. Chaos erupted, gunfire echoed, and Rex had leapt without hesitation to protect him. When the dust settled, Rex lay still, his body broken but his eyes proud, as if saying, "I did my duty." The officer had held him until his last breath, vowing never to forget. Now, staring at the chained German shepherd before him, that old wound reopened. The resemblance was uncanny. The same powerful build, the same intelligent eyes, only dulled by pain and neglect. His daughter's plea collided with his own buried grief. Could this broken animal really be dangerous? Or was fate offering him a second chance at the bond he had once lost? The officer took a cautious step forward, his boots crunching softly against the gravel. The German shepherd's ears twitched, and a low growl rumbled from his chest. Passers-by gasped, some pulling out their phones, others urging him to step back. But the officer didn't flinch. He had faced danger before, and instinct told him this moment wasn't about aggression. It was about trust. Slowly, he crouched down, lowering himself to the dog's level. "Easy, boy," he murmured, his voice steady calm. The shepherd's growl wavered. His amber eyes locked on the man's every movement. He extended his hand just far enough for the dog to smell, but not touch. The animal's nose quivered, his breath uneven. Then, instead of lunging, he took a cautious step forward, chains clinking softly. The officer's heart tightened. There was no wild fury here, no beast. What he saw instead was desperation, a creature on the edge, waiting for someone to see beyond the rumors. Behind him, the little girl whispered, "See, Daddy? He just needs someone to believe in him." For the first time, the officer felt the walls of doubt begin to crack. The crowd that had gathered buzzed with unease, whispering warnings and shaking their heads. "He's dangerous," someone muttered. "Don't be a fool," another said. But the little girl clutched her father's sleeve tighter, her eyes wide and unblinking. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling with both fear and hope. "He's not a beast. He just wants to be free." The officer stood frozen, his heart torn between duty and love. Every instinct told him to walk away, to protect his daughter from risk. Yet the image of Rex, the K9 who once saved his life, flashed again in his mind. He remembered those eyes, brave, loyal, misunderstood by many but true to the core. Now, another pair of eyes pleaded before him that he reached into his pocket, pulled out a single crumpled dollar, and pressed it into the seller's hand. Gasps rippled through the bystanders as he stepped forward and unclipped the chain. The dog staggered, uncertain, then lifted his head to the sky as if breathing freedom for the first time. The girl's face lit up, her small arms wrapping tightly around her father. The beast was gone. In its place stood a soul waiting for redemption to at home. The dog was hesitant, pacing near the door as if expecting the chains to return. Every sudden sound made him flinch. Every shadow sent his ears darting. The little girl, however, treated him with gentle patience. She placed a bowl of water at his feet, sat a few feet away, and whispered, "It's okay now. You're safe." The officer observed quietly, his arms folded, studying every movement. The so-called beast hadn't bared his teeth once since being freed. Instead, he lingered near the girl, cautious but protective, his eyes softening whenever she was near. Over the following days, the truth began to unfold. The scars on his body weren't marks of aggression. They were evidence of cruelty. The officer discovered whispers of underground fights, of dogs forced into violence for sport. This shepherd had been one of them, discarded when he could no longer serve. Yet despite it all, he didn't lash out. Instead, he stayed close to the little girl, often curling near her bed at night, as though he'd appointed himself her guardian. The officer finally understood. This wasn't a monster. This was a survivor, one who had been waiting for someone to see his worth. Months passed, and the dog once called Beast was unrecognizable. His coat gleamed under the sun, his muscles regained strength, and his eyes, once clouded with pain, now sparkled with life. No longer chained, he raced across the backyard with the little girl, their laughter and barks mingling into one joyful chorus, at night. He curled at her bedside, ears alert, chest rising and falling with steady pace. The officer often lingered at the doorway, watching in silence. The weight of doubt that once pressed on him had lifted, replaced by gratitude that he remembered the whispers, the warnings, the fear. Yet here was the truth. The beast had never existed. What stood in his home was a protector, a friend, and now, family. The officer knelt beside his daughter, his voice low but steady. "You were right," he whispered. "He just needed someone to believe in him."